you.
All right, everybody, we're here with Raising Healthy Families Part 2. And so before we get going into tonight, I want to go over we got a couple questions from last time, so we're going to do a quick little recap and go over a couple questions before we get into the material for tonight here. So we had a question here first from Part 1.
How do you change the processed foods to the good foods?
So the question is, how do we make those changes from having those processed foods to having more of those better choices? And the best way is just make a plan. Have some type of plan. Plan what you're going to have for your treats, your snacks, whatever it may be, your lunch. And it doesn't have to be every meal. Start with something small. Pick 2 or 3 recipes or 2 or 3 things you're going to do. Put that in the plan. Go buy those things so you have those things available for you. Maybe it's we're going to just eat more fruits and vegetables. Okay, make sure you go to the store, make sure you have those things, and make sure you have those planned into your plan for the week. Okay, we're going to have chicken breast and some steamed vegetables on Tuesday night. You have it there, you have it ready to go, easy to do. Start making that so you have that set aside. Okay, this night we're going to do this, and this night we're going to do this, and you have the stuff ready for it. It's going to make it a lot easier to follow through with that. So that's the first thing. And so my second part to that is start adding in the good stuff. The bad stuff will start falling away. Now, me myself personally, one of the best ways for me to avoid eating the bad stuff is I just don't even have it at my house. I don't keep it around because if it's around, I'll eat it. I shared a little bit last time, like ice cream, for example. I love ice cream, but I don't keep ice cream in my house because I'll have a craving for it and I want it, I'll get it. But I'm also lazy enough that I'm not going to drive to the store every time I have a sweet craving and I want ice cream. I'm not going to drive to Dairy Queen to get ice cream. Now, once in a great while, that may happen. It's okay, not the end of the world, but that's pretty rare. Most times I don't need that. So hopefully that helps answer the question. Just having that good stuff around is going to help you, and not having that bad stuff readily right at your fingertips. That's the best way to start that process. And again, you get used to it over time, and it's not going to be an instantaneous change, but it will change over time. So obviously last time we talked about nutrition, we talked about movement, we talked about exercise. Tonight we're going to talk about toxins and detox. We're going to talk about your nervous system and talk about chiropractic care as we go through things. So we talked about screen time last time and how kids should not be getting more than 2 hours of screen time a day. Now the average teenager is getting over 8 hours a day, which is quite a bit. And we're doing even more as adults. So we really want to minimize that. That actually changes how social interaction, so their brain development, also that stimulation that's constant. So we have that, we're craving that stimulation, and that's why kids can't even sit still for 2 minutes because I need more stimulation. I'm looking for something because they're so used to being bombarded by that. So we want to minimize our exposure to that. It also affects our vision, things like that. You've seen the blue light glasses, things like that. That's a better choice for you to do while you're when you are doing some screen time, especially if you're watching TV when you get home at night before you go to bed, so that affect your melatonin levels, will sleep a little bit better, and just kind of stimulate that. So one of the best things, keep your TV out of your bedroom, keep your phone out of your bedroom, not doing that while you're in bed. That's a bad habit you want to try and break and get away from that. And so also just handing anytime the kids, there's nothing to do, hand them the phone to look at or play a game. We want to minimize that. That's not helping the situation. That's the perfect time to, a lot of times we're not spending enough time with our kids anyway. We want more quality time with our kids. A lot of times we have that available, we're just not utilizing it. And we talked about where your kids are. Who's influencing your kids the most? Who are they around the most? They're in school for 8 hours a day. They're going to practice for another 2 hours. They're hearing this, but then you only have maybe an hour of time with them. How much time do you have to influence them and raise them the way you want them to be raised? So what's important to you, you want to make sure you have that time to get that in. So the screen time is very important. And so now we're going to we're actually in a generation that's just living in fear, especially now more than ever. I think everyone gets this. We're so bombarded it. Over 85% of people get their information off of social media, so we're on the screen time, we're involved in this, and with all the media, social media, the misinformation, the false, the other thing, there's so many things being bombarded with. How do we decipher what's right, what's wrong? And that starts really putting us, and everything is marketed by fear. Right now, especially you watch the news, media, and it's not only news, it's all about fear. It's all about to scare us to do something a lot of times. So we're in a generation living in fear, and so much so that now, if we're looking at numbers, talking about masking is a big thing right now. The shot is a big thing right now. Where we're having kids that are if we look at statistics, little kids are not in the population that are having problems with COVID or any of this, but yet we're talking about masking them in the school, but not masking the other ones are okay. So why is this, and why are we making this work? There's a lot of fear involved, and this affects our stress levels, it's our anxiety levels. A teenager nowadays has more anxiety, more stress than what someone in the mental ward had in the 50s. So we talk about what are our levels. We have way more anxiety now and everything. We're talking about depression. We talk about kids are so confused. They don't know who they are, where they are. We're just so bombarded with fear constantly. We need to be able to help be able to ground our kids. Where are they at? Who are they are? Whose they are? We need to really make sure we're spending that time pouring into them, because a lot of it is fear poured into them all day long. So they're afraid to go outside. They're afraid to do these other things because they're told you shouldn't do this, and they're lost in who they are, from their sexuality to even we have furries now, where kids think they're animals in schools and wearing dog collars and barking at people. They're mixed up. They're lost, and they need help. They need direction, and so we need to pay attention, because there's so much fear in our society right now. And the thing is, you are the average of the 5 people around you. The people that you hang around the most, that's who you are likely to become. This is true for in any age level. Who are the people that you surround yourself? Your kids are going to have more of your qualities if they're around you most of the time. If they're around other people, they're going to have more of those qualities. You are the people you're around. So if you're not in a friend group or social group that is moving you to where you want to be, you might need to change that friend group a little bit. You might need to change that social group a little bit. If there are people that are, kids that are getting in trouble and this constantly, guess what? That's the direction your kids are going to be pulled towards. Not that they're doomed for this, but you are the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. And research has shown that over and over again. So what are you surrounding yourself with? What are you filling yourself up with? If we're watching nothing but media or news and stuff like that, you're going to feel that fear. You're going to feel that anxiety. If you're watching, surround yourself with nothing but feel-good stuff, positive stuff, you're going to tend more that direction. What are you surrounding yourself with? Are you surrounding yourself with people that are going to help move you to that next level, help you reach your next goals? Because they're people that do that, or are they people that choose not to do those type of things? Who are you and who are the people you're around? That's going to determine who you become. So make sure you surround yourself with 5 people that, the people that you surround yourself with are the people in the direction you want to go. So the people you spend time with. Example, I got the dad working out here, and here's the kid working out too. Well, your kids are watching you, whether you're saying it or doing it or not. They're watching. They're taking it in. We see the kids become like their parents, and it's what you do, not as what you say. All right, so they're following you. If you're sneaking candy over on the side, guess what they're going to end up doing? Sneaking candy on the side away from you. So make sure you're paying attention to those things, and we want to make sure that we're influencing in the right direction. So we're going to talk about your immune system here too, because we're talking about the natural immune system, and we're also going to talk about our artificial immune system. So we talk about the power of the natural immune system. Now, your immune system is meant to work. There's different types of your immune system. There's your innate. This is what you were born with. It's what you got from your mom. Your body knows what to do, how it's going to handle certain things. It is programmed. You have your lymphocytes, your T killer cells, all those things. your body is going to attack these antigens or create antigens to be able to help your body fight off bacteria, viruses, things like that. And now you also have adaptive. Now this is things that you're exposed to, your body recognizes, attacks that, and then now you have with both of these, you have long-term immunity with this. So you're essentially protected for the rest of your life. Once you've had it once, your body knows creates a memory of that and will be able to fight that off later in life. But then we have also have passive, which we've gotten from something else. For even like mother's milk, we can get actually an immune system boost from that to help fight off certain things. There's even been, this is how amazing our bodies are, that mother's breast milk, where she pumped, had her milk, middle of the night, baby developed an ear infection, mom breastfed again, and just from the saliva from the baby and the mother's nipple, the mother's body actually changed the milk. You can see the milk she pumped the next day, totally different color, more colostrum, all this to help boost the baby's immune system. And so it's how amazing that bond is, but how our bodies will respond to these things. So that's the adaptive. Now we're going to talk about vaccines here in a little bit too. That's a whole different thing, and I'll explain a little bit more about how a vaccine is supposed to work, how that works, and we'll go in a little bit more detail here. So, well, natural versus artificial immunity. Now, artificial immunity would be what we're trying to do with a vaccine. Now, the goal of a vaccine is to give you a little bit of something so that your body will respond to that and then try and create this immune response from that. Now, to do that, they put a bunch of things that our body knows are some things to irritate the body, from aluminum, mercury. So there's things like this to try and that are irritants to the body, formaldehydes in most of these. They're also grown on aborted fetal tissue. So there's a lot of issues when we talk about the ingredients in our vaccines. And always, I want to talk about here too, is always sure you do your research. We're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But these are the things that we're putting in our body, are known toxins, known carcinogens in our vaccines. And that's to irritate our body so that we'll start attacking this. And they'll put little bits of that virus, either a deadened version or a slightly killed version, for the body to attack that and try and recognize that. Now the problem with this is we don't have a long-term immunity with these. That's why they have boosters. And unfortunately, every person's metabolism is different. It's going to metabolize this at a different rate. So it's not the same for every person. That's why some people, the one shot may last a lot longer. Some it may only last a short little bit. But they don't know, so they put boosters in there. So that's the whole idea behind that. Now, unfortunately, in reality, these don't work too much. In some circles, vaccines have been given way more credit than what they've actually accomplished. The big one everyone throws out is polio, measles, mumps, rubella, things like that. Most of those things, what really the reason they're no longer, we don't see them very much now, is actually just sanitation improvements, clean drinking water. That's been the biggest improvement. We don't have sewage running through the middle of our streets, where that used to be the case. And we see this huge going down to that. Things like polio, the vaccine was only given to 2 countries in the world, but yet it's eliminated around the world, except for those that have gotten it from the shot themselves. So there's some problems with that. Don't take my word for any of this. I want you to do your own research. I can give you some research link below. If you actually ask a question, we'll follow up with that, and I'll make sure you get all the information I can help you with on that. But there's tons of information out there. It's sorting through that. That's the hardest part. So, but here's one of the other problems when we talk about vaccines. Today's kids get over 70 doses before the age of 18. Over 70 shots, vaccines before the age of 18. So this is what we're going through. Now, when I was a kid, it was more like 12 to 14. And so we look at, it's really jumped up, it's really skyrocketed. So more than half of those 70 are in the first year and a half of life. But it's in the first year and a half, between 2 months and 15 months is when half of those shots are. So as this body is developing, as this kid is developing, its nervous system is developing, we're attacking it with all these things, they're starting to develop neurodevelopmental things, problems. We see everything from autism spectrum to chronic diseases to just skyrocketing with this, especially with more vaccines being added into the spectrum. Here, so we're going to talk about that a little bit here too. So here's another big problem is in 1986, they passed a law that the vaccine manufacturers are no longer liable for any problems anyone has with a shot. If they die because they got the shot, a vaccine, or if they had any problems, autism, Guillain-Barré, whatever, it doesn't matter. If they have any problems at all from this, any adverse reactions, the manufacturers are not legally responsible for this in any way and cannot be sued. Now, this doesn't happen in any other profession, automakers, you name it, anything, nothing, no other industry does this happen, but it does happen with vaccine manufacturers. And so since that, the number of vaccines on the market has tripled. We look at how fast this has just skyrocketed. So the number of vaccines available has just gone skyrocketed because, again, there's no liability. They're able to push more out there. So this becomes a big issue when we look at what's going on. What are we putting in our kids? That's why some people choose to they choose to still vaccinate their kids, but they may spread out that so that's not so much all at once. Sometimes getting 7, 8 different vaccines all at the same time when they go to the doctor. Now sometimes it's 3 or 4 different vaccines all combined in the same shot. Sometimes that's a lot for that baby, for that nervous system to be able to handle that. So that's why some people choose to spread those out over time. That's also why some choose not to do certain ones, and it's also why some choose to not do vaccines at all. And so there's a lot of different choices there, but this is a big question I have on something that makes me pause. When there's no liability, no reason to for them to uphold any safety standards, because nothing can ever happen to them. Now there's also something called the VAERS, which is the vaccine reaction, and if you ever have a reaction for it. Now you should report that. Now less than 1% of any reactions are reported to that, so that is something you definitely want to look at. And if you or someone you know has a reaction from a vaccine, you need to report that immediately, because if we don't keep track of that, it's never going to happen. Now most doctors' offices don't report that, unfortunately. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but you'd have to talk to them specifically why they wouldn't do that. So the recommended childhood vaccine schedule, like I said, has tripled since that liability was removed. So this vaccine schedule has just skyrocketed. They're throwing more and more out there. Now, first of all, let's backtrack for a second. Is a vaccine or a drug ever going to create health in your body? Is it ever going to create your body healthier? It cannot make it healthier, right? It can always maybe address the symptom, and that's what we're talking about when we talk about medicine today, our medical model. It's about addressing symptoms. It's trying to avoid a pain or a symptom. It's not getting to the cause. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We need to get to the root cause of what's going on, and actually to develop true health, we have to get to that. And we'll talk about what health is here too. So talking about correlation or causation, again, we're seeing since this 1986, we're seeing huge uptakes, autism, we're talking huge uptakes of asthma, all these neurodevelopmental problems, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all these things are skyrocketing. Am I saying they're all directly because of a vaccine? No, I'm not saying that. But these are things to look at. Is this because of this or not? We see this huge skyrocket of this, and then we see these other things going up. Is it directly because of that? Is it partially because of that? That's what we need to look into, and that's what you need to research yourself to make your own decisions on what you want to do moving forward. Again, I never say take my word for it. I highly encourage you to do your own research. I'm always open if someone has questions, has concerns, debates. I'm open to all of those things. But again, do your own research, make your own decisions. So I'm a huge advocate for informed choice. and freedom of choice. And so you should be able to choose what you want to do, and no one should be able to tell you what you should do. You should know what you do, and you should never just take someone's word for it, whether it be me, another doctor, CDC, whatever. You need to do your own research and know and understand why you're making the choices that you're making. So, educate yourself, do your own research, make sure you do that. Now, a lot of people have no clue where to begin. You know what most doctors do? They Google something. You can start there. There's a lot better ways, there's a lot of other things we can go into, but just start doing your own research, start looking up things, and you'll be surprised what you find. So, now we're getting to other toxins. We're talking about household products, our cleaners, our detergents, dyes are in so many things, and so many very toxic things. A good general rule, when we talk about toxicity, if you can't put it in your mouth or your eyes, you should not put it on your skin, or it should not touch your skin. So we look at a lot of our cleaning products we should not have in the house. I mean, they have all these warning labels, do not have near, let kids touch or handle. Well, we really shouldn't be cleaning the counter with it then, right? Because what are the kids doing? They're touching the counter, they're putting the food right off of it, licking it off of that, touching so many other things. Now, it's good for the kids to be out and touching lots of things and getting the dirt and all that. That's how we create a stronger immune system. But we talk about a lot of the things, the chemicals that we're putting in are very toxic. Again, affects neural development, huge hormone issues in a lot of these, parabens, from just household cleaning products to personal care products, in a lot of these things, sulfates, a lot of things are in most cleaning products. We want to really avoid a lot of those. BPA, a lot of plastics. We're talking about that right here. Your toys and your plastics that they're in. A big thing has been, you've heard about lead paint. Most of that's it's not in the U.S., but some of the things we get from China sometimes do. But our plastics, we got to be careful what plastics we're using and touching. Again, the petroleum products, these plastics, they can really change our hormones and really and developmentally affect us also. To what we're storing our foods in here too. Are you storing in Tupperware? Are you storing in other plastics? Obviously, a better choice would be glass to store your stuff, to store your foods. We talked about your kids' toys. Some plastics are okay. Wood, obviously we talked about that, but you gotta be careful what kind of paints or colors or varnishes or whatever on those type of things here too. So there's a whole spectrum here, but these are things that are affecting our daily life for both us as adults, but also teenagers and kids alike. And so we want to get to your spinal development. Now, this is why it's so important when we, our spine should be straight from the front and have 3 curves when we look at you from the side. Now, when we do that, and that's how a baby essentially has some of those, but they really develop this during that phase where they're crawling around. They're on all fours, heads up, they're developing those 3 curves right there. So I joke, if a kid starts to get up and try and walk right away, I want to trip them because I want them spending more time on their hands and knees to really developing those curves. Using that cross crawl, that neural development, creating more myelin, which is the kind of the coating that goes over the nerve. To create that stronger nerve connection between the body and the brain. And so that can get that feedback. Because that's how your body works. Your brain controls everything. All that healing, all that information comes from your brain, down your spinal cord, out your nerves, to every cell, every muscle, every organ in your body. For your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, for your stomach to digest food, for your body to fight cancer, all that has to get through there, through that nervous system, for your body to function and heal. Now, if there's something called a subluxation, when your spine is shifted out of place, putting pressure on that nerve, that's going to limit what gets through there and how that body functions. So when we do that, one of our things that we do here in our office, we detect and we correct what's called a subluxation, and that's what we remove. We help remove subluxations. We help take that kink out of the garden hose, let the body heal. We're not putting anything in, we don't take anything out, and this is what allows our body to function, heal at its best. So this is where your development is so huge when we talk about your nerve development. The first thing you develop in an embryo is the nervous system as a baby is growing, is the nervous system. That's the very first thing, is the brain and the spinal cord. So we want to make sure that's going. Now also, as we go through that, we have trips, we have falls, we have that. Just think of a kid right now, they can trip and fall and get up and pop up and keep on going. Now me, I don't pop up quite as fast as I used to anymore. Kids respond so much faster in every way. Their body heals a lot faster because their body has a higher human growth hormone, it's producing more cells at a much more rapid pace. My body is not producing cells near as fast as what a little kid's is right now. So with that, we look at, okay, their bodies go through a lot. There's a lot of trips, there's falls. Even the birth process itself can be very traumatic for a baby. You know, the doctors grab a hold of the head, pulling, twisting, turning, but what's still stuck inside? The shoulders. So you can see how damage can start right then. Because if there's a little baby right here, no one will let me grab the baby by his head and drag it along the carpet. But that's what's happening in the birth process. There's damage being pulled right there. Not to mention trips, falls, we get to school, heavy backpacks, and now everyone is on technology, head forward, phones, iPads, computers. Then we get over driving, we're sitting watching TV, we're all in the slouched posture, head forward, putting tension on that spinal cord, and it's not allowing that to get through there like it needs to. It's impeding how the body's able to function. The beautiful thing, kids respond so much faster. So it's a lot easier. First of all, that's why we're a big advocate for getting your whole family checked. Make sure that for subluxation, make sure your kids are not developing. You know, people think of like scoliosis, other things. I don't want to be developing that, but we also want to make sure that their body is just, number one, functioning at 100%. And that's the whole goal. Make sure that their body's is functioning the way it was meant to. So that you're at your optimum potential. Now, kids are a lot easier. Again, number one, they don't have the arthritis, they don't have near the damage. Their body is healing at a faster rate, so they typically need a lot less care in our office. They don't need near as many visits, and they're usually most times right into a maintenance phase because they don't need near as much care. And the beautiful thing is I can work with everything from that newborn from being minutes old all the way to 99 plus years old. How I adjust a baby is totally different than how I adjust an adult, but this is where that all starts. When did I check my kids? The minute they were born. Many times I go to for my patients, I'll see them, meet them in the hospital, and I'll check their baby right there, right after the birth, to make sure that their body is healing and functioning right off the bat the best it possibly can. And you'd be amazed at the miracles we get to see and the changes we get to see, not only in kids, from learning troubles to developmental troubles to bedwetting to you name it. We got a whole list of things over here, from colic, asthma, concentration, like I said, bedwetting, digestive issues. We see all these things change dramatically, and they happen so much quicker than what we even see in adults, because again, they don't have near the problems typically. So help them go a lot faster. So we talked about musculoskeletal problems. We talked ear infections. That's another big one that kids are brought into our office for, and they respond so quick to things like that when we work with them. So if you haven't gotten your kids checked, now's the time. Get them checked now. Get them checked right away. Want to make sure that when do you want your kids to be healthy? Do you want them started on that road now, or 10 years or 20 years down the road? You want to start now. You want to make sure the kids now. If you had cancer or heart disease developing in your body, when do you want to know? You want to know now. So make sure you're getting checked immediately to make sure that those aren't things that are building your body. If it's been years since you've been checked, it's time to get checked. Make sure that there's nothing else going on in your body so that your body can function and heal, and you can live the life you were meant to live. Another good thing, talking about supplements for the kids, probiotics. This is a really good one for their gut because they're bombarded with so much sugar like we talked about. Want to make sure they're getting those good bacteria in their body, especially if they've ever had any antibiotics, because that kills all the good bacteria in the gut. Your gut is there's a huge gut-brain connection on how your body responds. Behavior is a huge difference on the diet that they eat. So how healthy that gut is a big, big part of that. So want to make sure you're getting good probiotics in there. Make sure you're getting a good quality multivitamin. Your Flintstones vitamins that I grew up on, at the time I grew up on, it's basically candy. And so it tastes like that, it's basically what it is. So you have it and if you're buying a vitamin that's a gummy vitamin, more than likely that's what it is. It's gummies. It's a fruit snack which has no fruit in it usually. It's usually just garbage. It's sugar. So we want to stay away from those type of things. We want a good quality multivitamin. Obviously, we have a couple here in our office here. Another thing, you want to make sure your kids are getting plenty of vitamin D. Number one, get outside to get a lot of that exposure to that, but you also might need to supplement with some vitamin D. The reason we supplement, the reason we take vitamins, is because unfortunately we don't get enough nutrients in the food that we eat. And that's pretty much clear across the board for most people, but even more so as we get into the sad American diet, the standard American diet. So for parents, want to make sure a good product that we recommend here in our office is the Daily Essentials that has your vitamin D, it has your multivitamin, it has your magnesium, it has your B complex all in there, all in one little easy package that you just grab and take out the door with you. You don't have to go through the different bottles and go through that. It's really convenient and it's actually a lot cheaper that way. And we actually have a brand new one, which is the Pure Path multivitamin, which if you hate swallowing pills, this is actually a new powder that you just pour in your water, your milk, whatever, smoothie, shake it up, drink it. That way you're getting your vitamins, get your multivitamin that way without having to choke down a big multivitamin. Some people really have trouble with that. So that's a brand new thing we just got in here. So your action steps. So we want to look at from the things that we talked about today. We want to make sure that the toys, the things you're cleaning your house with, want to really start looking at those. How toxic are they? Want to look at that. You want to make sure you're doing your research and make sure you're making your best health decisions you can on vaccines, on your medications. But are they what you need to do, and what do you need to do to get healthier? Want to make sure exercise. Make sure everybody's getting plenty of movement every day. Kids need at least an hour of 60 minutes of vigorous exercise every day. Make sure they're getting that in. Like we said, most are not. They're not getting that at school. We need to be getting that in, whether you're doing that. Adults, we need that too. We need movement. We need to be exercising on a regular basis. Most people are not getting enough. These are some of the reasons why we're the fattest country in the world right now. And why we're obese and why we're having so many other problems. We look at also adult nutrition. Make sure we're putting the good stuff in, more of the good fats, good quality proteins, not the processed foods. Staying away from those processed foods is the biggest thing there. You are the 5 people you surround yourself with, so make sure you are looking at your friend and social group. We want to minimize we look at where we're getting a lot of our information from our social time, our screen time. So our social media, so we want to stay off of those things. We want to minimize that, spend more time, actually quality time with our family. That's one of the keys with there. So action step, do those things. Get your family checked if they haven't been checked for civilization. That is so huge because that's going to allow your body to be able to function the best it possibly can. So if you haven't done that, make sure you do that. Upcoming events, we have our immunity makeover. That's going to be Saturday, October 23rd at 9 a.m. It's going to be here in the office. So we're going to teach you how your natural immune system. We're going to really go a lot more in detail on your immune system because this is the hottest topic right now. The biggest thing everyone wants to know about, how do I create a strong immune system, that titanium immune system, create that protection around yourself so you don't have to live in fear like we talked about. We want to identify the truth and how to prevent that as those infections. And then expose the community to those, what are the myths about your immune system? What's the truths and what's myths? We're going over true facts, and we'll explain that, and we'll show the research with that even also. So with that, also want to make sure that you're following along with us. We'll have links below here on our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, where you can continue watching more of these things, and our website here too, and our Instagram posts. So you can follow along with things that we're doing from our workouts that we do here at the office that everyone is welcome to join us at on Tuesday nights, to our recipe of the week, to our thought of the day, whatever that may be. So I want to make sure you're following along with all those things. And with that, thank you so much, guys. If you have questions, just email me below. We'll have my email address below. We'll be able to respond to that. For those of you watching the video, for those of you here, we'll stay after and we'll answer any questions that you have. So with that, thanks so much. Thanks for coming to Raising Healthy Families.